So I'll get started now that we're recording. Um, for those of you guys who don't know me, I'm Thomas Oyoung, and I'm the research visual storyteller at Cohere Labs. And I'm also the creator of CoPlot. And I really appreciate you all joining today. Today we're gonna talk a little. I'll talk a little bit about why I made CoPlot, because I think that might help people use it more thoughtfully. And then I'll do a demo of CoPlot. And then I'm excited to open up kind of a wider discussion beyond CoPlot to just chat about data visualization and how you can use it to improve the way you communicate research, and also at times use it to improve your research process. And Marzia is joining for that, which I'm really excited about and thankful for. So first question is, why make CoPlot in the first place? There are plotting tools out in the world. Why did we need to make a new one? And that's true. And I would just say that it's also about it was about more than about just making a cool tool. It was about enabling my teammates and now you all to tell their data stories more easily. Through working on projects like the leaderboard illusion, along with many other publications at the lab, I noticed a gap between the tools that the researchers on the team were using to create data visualizations and the tools that I used as a designer. That's kind of my background. And both of these tool sets had their own shortcomings. And their shortcomings were not only creating a gap in kind of the quality that each tool was able to make, but also the quality of the collaboration I was able to have with my teammates. Matplotlib was really great at ingesting data, but it wasn't the best at making pretty charts. The styling capabilities of that code library were okay, but they just weren't good enough to make a chart feel bespoke or special or branded. Figma, which is what I used, was really great at beautifying charts, but it was horrible at ingesting data. So the process was long. We risked inaccuracy, and I just wasn't as able to get in touch with the research that my team was doing as I would have liked. So we made CoPlot. CoPlot was an effort to fill this gap. I wanted to build a tool that combined accessible styling, real-time prototyping, intuitive data ingestion, all into one application so that I could work more closely with my teammates and tell better visual stories at the lab. By filling this gap, we ultimately make research more accessible. It enables researchers to access more refined styles and tell their stories through data visualization, which again is helpful not just for the final product, but also for the research process as you visualize work in progress data and kind of make decisions for the next direction that you'll be taking. And it also enables designers to work with data more easily, which is really important during that collaboration. But it's also just beyond designers, it's really important as a way to kind of bring people without, machine learning research background into your work. Ultimately, I think the goal of the lab is to make research more accessible. That's why we have the community, and this is starting to kind of go beyond just researchers. It's also going into non-technical people, and CoPlot is a small but nice step in that direction. And it's already having impact in the community. The lab has just recently concluded Expedition Tiny Aya, where Bronson Bakunga, who was leading one of the projects in Expedition Tiny Aya and is also the regional Africa lead, used CoPlot to showcase the project during his final presentation, which was like so exciting to see. Internally on our team, these are modified charts because the project is still in progress, but we're using plots to improve the research process. We're using them as we're using CoPlot as our go-to kind of tool to help us tell our data stories more clearly so we can make better decisions during the research process. We used CoPlot. CoPlot was tested greatly during the TinyIO release. It led to a lot of improvements, but it helped us choose multiple styles for web, social media, and publication, and create these charts. I think there were like 40 pretty quickly. And then most recently, we used CoPlot, or the design team at Cohere, so separate from the lab, used CoPlot for Cohere Transcribed to create the plots for the blog, which was Cohere's most successful research release in recent times. Maybe not as successful as TinyIO, but that's just kidding. It was really successful and really exciting to see them use the tool for me. So that's just a quick introduction to why I made CoPlot and kind of what I'm excited about. It's a young tool, so I'm also really excited to kind of continue improving it. But now we'll switch gears into a walkthrough of the actual tool. I'm going to refresh this. So this is the CoPlot homepage. You'll see on the left here, we have 13 different chart types. I am taking suggestions for more plots that you might want to have included here. This library should be expanding. But you have vertical bar charts, horizontal bar charts, group bar charts. And then you'll see on the right here, you'll see the control panel pop up. So this is where you can kind of get into styling different plots. I'll start with aspect ratio. So depending on how you're presenting your data, you can choose different shapes. So if you're using it for a paper and you just want one column in your paper, you could use a chart like this. But if you wanted to stretch the whole page, you could choose ultra wide. Or if, for instance, you're doing a group bar chart, you can choose this ultra wide one because you just have so many groups and so many series that you just need the space for it to be legible and nice to look at. Below that, you'll see the colors menu. So you can change the background color and you can customize this background color to whatever you would like. Not the best choice there. We'll go with white for now. You can also change to a multicolor palette to kind of differentiate between each category. And again, these can be customized as well if you're working with a particular style that you want to showcase for your project. And then you can edit the axis labels. You can add a chart title here. You can change the font sizes. So these are changing the axis labels. You really have like a full suite of styling options that you can use, that you can really easily access. And most importantly to me, you can see happen in real time. So you don't need to wait for a new chart to render, and you have a lot of space to experiment and change things. So now I'm going to take you guys through the process of creating the scatter plot that we used for Cohere Transcribes release. So you can kind of see the process from start to finish. Obviously, the first step is choosing your chart type. We know it's a scatter plot. So then you click up here to add your data, and you would drag in your CSV, and CoPlot will read your data automatically and organize it into different columns so you can see what you're working with. So we see we have the models, we have the RTFX value, the average WER value, and then the date. Now, we probably wouldn't want the date, and you can remove that column if you want. I'm going to keep it there for now just to kind of show you kind of the possibilities here for the sake of the demo. You can also, if you're using percentages in your data, you can really quickly strip the non-numeric values here. Then you click continue, and now you confirm your columns. So it tells you that it auto-detected your table layout. It'll tell you what it's plotting, so average WER versus RTFX, and then it'll tell you it's color-coded by the model column. If we want to make any changes, we can choose this adjust columns value. We could switch the X and Y if we wanted. We can switch what it's getting colored by. In this case, we can't. There's no size by option for this type of chart. But if you want to make adjustments, you can do it here. So we've confirmed our values, and already you have a pretty workable scatter plot. And so that's like really great. But if you did have a problem here, you could, and this date column was giving you issues, you could very easily remove it just by clicking edit data here. Let's say we want to switch these axes. So you would just choose your X there, and now they are switched. And yeah, like already a really great start, but we want to show off the Cohere transcribe model. So what we will do is choose a custom color. So you can see all the models, all the different dots are here, but we want to show off Cohere transcribe in this case. So we'll choose this custom color, and you can see it starting to stand out even more, which is a really nice touch for a chart if you're trying to show off a specific data set, to highlight it like that. We can add a chart title. So RTFX versus average, or average WER versus RTFX for ASR models. So really simple to add that. We could say that we think the axis label size is a little small, so we'll bump that up, and then we'll go into data. So one thing I want to show off is that this automatically is a interactable plot, and you can export it as a React component if you want. But one thing we try to do is make sure that there's as little hidden data as possible. So you could, if you didn't want to have, you can choose these different options as labels. You could for each point. And if there were, these are all whole numbers, but if you wanted to get to like 5-digit accuracy, you could add decimal if you wanted. And then, yeah, there are just a lot of customization. So you can choose to show the grid. If, for instance, we didn't want the 5 to be as close, we could change the x-axis minimum to be 4.9 just to give a little space there. And change the tick size and the marker size, the marker transparency. And again, all of this is rendering in real time, which I think is really helpful and nice to see. We have non-color series styles to make the charts and plots more accessible. You can, well, we should definitely be showing the legend in this one, but you can also move it. So if we wanted something like that for whatever reason, you could do that. But I guess, I mean, I think the main message here is just how quickly and easily we got to a production ready chart, which I think is really exciting, and you can like actually see it getting made with each click, which is definitely really helpful for me. For me, like in my user experience, I will normally download an SVG. We're experimenting with more interactive chart visualizations for our websites. So that's why this React component is there, but would love to see more people experimenting with that. You can also download a PNG, which is a great option if you're publishing a paper. But also, like, this is what Bronson did for his Expedition Aya, as he just took the matplotlib code and used the styles so he could customize in his own way, since he seemed to already have kind of a workflow in matplotlib that he enjoyed. So this is always an option as well. It'll automatically generate the matplotlib code for these styles, and you can just copy and paste that. And for bar charts, we also have the option to export Seaborn code if you like doing that or prefer that option. So that is my CoPlot demo. I'm happy to answer any questions about the tool. And I'm also happy to talk about data visualization in general and how it can help your projects. I think data visualization goes far beyond the plots that I've shown here. And so, yeah, it'd be fun to talk about that. But thank you all for listening. It does not have an API currently, but we are kind of trying to figure out ways to enable it to be accessed in that way. I think I have to clean up the code a little bit for it to be more accessible by like an agent or something like that. But it is on the roadmap for sure.
Yeah, thanks, Thomas. This was really great. I'm very happy that we finally got to share this publicly. There are, from coming up with an idea of a project until you do the experiments, you test hypothesis, you get the results, and you get to write to the paper. There's just so many steps in between that some of them, there are a lot of resources out there, especially for new people into research who wants to get involved, and they can find points of entry of how to maybe quickly figure out some steps, but some we find that it's not really, they're still a little bit obscure and vague, and this was one of them. So really, when you see a really nice plot in a paper or a blog post, it looks great, and also like the impression is that this was the first version, but there's so many iterations to get into a nice plot. And the idea behind this tool is to make that entry point for everyone to get to a to be able to start essentially their data visualization journey at a point that is already quite high, I would say, like really nice plots, but also keeping it still very flexible and customizable, so not everything will look the same, and you can still like play around and make it your own based on what you think would be nice. And this is only the first, or one of the first tools that we are releasing as part of trying to provide different tools and supports for every step of the way of getting a project idea into a final form of a research paper.
Yeah, there's a long way to go. I think, well, I have some ideas about what to make next and what visualizations to aid going forward. But yeah, you said it, like the goal is to kind of raise the baseline of what research can look like, and yeah, allow people to kind of iterate in a new space. It's like not the most fun. Matplotlib isn't the most fun place to iterate. at least for me. And also when people, I've experimented with using LLMs to generate plots, and it's the results are good, but also you kind of lack that ability to customize beyond what the LLM gives you quite easily, except through prompting. And so uh, that was really why we built this, is like you can see the changes in real time. You have the ability to make these changes. And um, yeah, I don't know. I'm excited for more people to experiment in it. And
Yeah. And I do have to say, I actually fall on the skeptical end of the spectrum of using LLMs for like any form of like data analysis, because they can still hallucinate if like some
yes,
data is going to be different. And then if you're working with a large amount of data, then you also might not be able to catch that. So I'm a little bit hesitant. Even now, the models are super impressive, but still, I like the manual process of, and when you, it's also like a very important step, right? You don't want to misrepresent your results. You've done all of the hard work, you got to the results, and you want to make sure the visualization is true to what you have seen. So yeah, I'm very happy that this tool doesn't really actually involve any language.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It's sort of it's a, yeah, I guess like any LLM use, it's a like tantalizing possibility, but I've definitely seen and had my own issues giving a bunch of data to one of them and it just giving me something that's not true. And I think one sort of underrated part of like the matplotlib experience is the more you're like wrestling with the tool that's creating the visualization, even though it can be frustrating, it can also be a way to understand the work that you're doing better, just going through that process. And um, yeah, there's some good in that, some positive in that friction. So hopefully Coplot is a nice middle ground where it reduces friction, but still allows people to get to know their data in a better way.
Yeah, I agree. That sounds great. What does everyone think? Anything anyone wants to share? Maybe any questions in particular or any suggestions for what you think is missing in the data visualization board? And also, if you want to share your frustrations in visualizing your data in a project or something that you've learned.
Hey, like I would like to give my views on there is a library called Boka, Bokeh. Yeah, and that's like a JavaScript 3D kind of interactive. Uh, and the gallery has a lot of examples of like how to use those sort of plots. So I was thinking maybe we plan to add these sort of plots in your
Yeah, I want to continue expanding the library that we have access to and that you can like prototype and experiment with. Um, you're not the first person to have suggested expanding into Boca, which yeah, so this is definitely also something we're interested in doing. I also think there's something nice about kind of the dashboard abilities of Boca, but uh, that seems a little bit further down the line. But yes, absolutely. And if you have any kind of suggestions for some specific ones that you'd like to start with, that would be especially helpful for you. Um, Let me know because I'd be happy to kind of start there. And yeah, like just to kind of say explicitly what Marzia was saying is like this is really the first iteration of the tool and we hope it like continues to grow. So thank you for your feedback and your suggestion.
Yeah, like specifically with the uh, tiny expedition area, like we are, in the way of uh, going through the phase 3, in which we are writing blog posts, like, and that specifically with kind of a uh, interactive visualization might
Mhm.
improve the like uh, your impact on the audience. So, like, yeah, that's what I was kind of looking at. Yeah,
Cool.
thank you. I will get back to you on the plots that me and my team zero in on, and then we can kind of take it from there.
Yeah, I would do my best to get those up for you. And one other option that you would have is to kind of at least take the styling code
Mhm.
that is provided, and kind of you could use Coplot as just like a space to experiment and choose different colors, and then apply those to your Bokeh plot. If I'm not able to get to it, I think that's another kind of path to go on.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's great, Mayank, to hear from you, and that the expedition project is going into phase 3. So yeah, hopefully it can be helpful with this tool to write the blog post. I also like the suggestion, Kime, you gave on LaTeX and
Yeah.
Google Drive connectors. I think you are, Thomas, already with the what was the other tool called? What did
Coscope.
Yeah, CoScope. Nice. Yeah, the CoScope one. So we already are thinking about this sort of like an interactive tool of getting a structured way of making the brainstorming essentially phase of a project, and then importing that into LaTeX. That would be interesting to also connect this already there.
Yeah. And then I also hear you on just sort of allowing for mathematical notations onto charts and plots would be really helpful as well on the front end. So it would be awesome to be able to import these plots easily. And then it would also be, I actually haven't, admittedly, I haven't tested mathematical notation, so maybe it already works, but I know that is a request that I've gotten that is on the list. So would be good to work on my end, to work on both sides of that.
Nice. That sounds great. Yeah, anything else anyone wants to talk about? Anything about visualization in general? The fun and the downsides.
I mean,
You have a lot of opinion, Thomas, I know.
yeah, and one thing that I regret not doing, but I should have added this, and I'll just add it to the chat, is both Marzi and I are huge fans of Edward Tufte. I think that he really does an awesome job of kind of putting into perspective how to use data visualization, and when it's useful and when it's not useful. I'd say that there are kind of two ends of the spectrum here. There are people who want to use data to make really pretty things, and then there are people like Edward Tufte who are very want to just efficiently and thoroughly communicate the idea of a project. And so, for instance, one of his opinions is you really often don't need to use box plots or pie charts or even bar charts, that you can just use a table to communicate that data. So that's just sort of saying that to kind of show you his perspective. I think the world ends up at a middle ground, but I do think it's worth it if you can get your hands on one of his books at the library or online, to check it out, because he's done a lot of work on this, and yeah, it's a good way to kind of test. It's definitely tested and informed my approach and my expectations of what like a effective data visualization should look like, and even when we should be using them. So maybe the next tool is a co-table, so it's not, we're not just making plots, but yeah, worth checking that out.
Yeah, that's a good point. And I do want to add that with this tool, with Coplot, we mainly focus on styling and essentially raising the bar of like a starting, like a really, I don't want to even say like baseline, because I think it's much better than a baseline of style, but it is at the end of the day a reasonable, nice, acceptable, easy to read and digest the information style of plot. But of course, there's the story behind. At the end of the day, you are sharing some results with the way that you are visualizing, and what you want to highlight, the story behind that, how to make sense of whether the difference that you see is meaningful or not statistically in the context of what you're working on. So there's a lot of actual contextual analysis of the results behind the step before getting to the visualization, that the books of Edward Tufte would be a really good source. And the more, I would say, in general, you read good papers, you also get a sense of how people make the story and then visualize the results and tell the story of their work. And that is definitely not right now. And that was not really the goal to capture, because it's not going to be, it's not a formulate, essentially, step of research. It is very special to the researcher and the project. This is a really great tool to have a really nice style of communicating your results. So yeah, I love for us to talk more about that part maybe as well in the community and in general, like how the storytelling of making sense of the results that are scientifically rigorous and accurate. You don't misrepresent the outcomes of the experiments, and you're still able to come to nice conclusions that can feed into the next research project.
Yeah, I'd say that's like Coplot is maybe like an introduction into that world of how you can kind of be more critical or thoughtful about kind of why you're choosing the chart that you're choosing, and then prototype and imagine the different kind of ways that you're sharing what you're sharing. Yeah, I don't know. I'm trying to find like the right YouTube talk of Edward Tufte to share, and I'm just not sure, so I'm not gonna do it. But just, you can search him online. I think it was borderline shocking to hear him say like use a table instead of a bar chart for me. But I think he makes his point is well taken. So yeah.
Nice. Anything else anyone wants to chime in, or any questions?
Great. Thanks, Marzia, so much for joining. I really, really appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks so much for, I think this was also your first talk officially in the community. Yeah. So yeah.
My first talk and my first demo, and nothing broke. So that's
great demo and great tool. And we have a lot in the pipeline. We are brainstorming every day on what would be essentially adding useful tools so that as a researcher, you have all of these in your toolkit so that you can do the great work that you do maybe a little bit more easily for all of these like side tasks. And hopefully we'll come out with more tools soon. Yeah, it was really nice to hear the talk and really good to see all of you.
Yeah. Thank you guys so much for coming. It's really cool to be able to share this with you. And please let me know any feedback or any plots or charts you'd like to see on the coplot menu. I think, again, all of these tools are like living and growing things. There are definitely bugs that I haven't caught, so please let me know. But yeah, I hope that this helps everyone on their research journey. And if you have suggestions for tools that you're like, oh, I wish I had this, or this part of my process can be frustrating, also give me a shout and we'll see. Because yeah, you guys, for me, you all and your feedback is kind of my data, my research. So it's really helpful to hear from you all.
All right, sounds good. Thanks so much, and thanks everyone for joining.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.